Hello, Loli's Hertz here. This time I wanted to make some videos about medicine. I wanted to do some medical topics and help students who want to be doctors. And the topic to do is basics of microbiology, Loli's Hertz. Microbiology is the study of microorganisms, a large and diverse group of microorganisms that can be up to a single cell or cell aggregates, divided into 4 subgroups: parasitology, microbiology, and parasitology. In the photo I put in light purple is a bacteria. In the dark purple, the coronavirus. Yellow is a parasite, and the salmon orange color is a fungus. The history of microbiology starts with the Greeks, because they actually started a theory, the concept, with Aristotle. And Castro actually gives the early version of the germ theory in 1546. In 1665, Hooke observes cork cells under a microscope. In 1674, von Rothkirch observes single-cell organisms. 1847, Frowen demonstrates that hand washing reduces peripheral infection. And Snow demonstrates in 1854 that cholera bacteria is transmitted in contaminated drinking water. Pasteur, 1862, disproves the sporadic generation with swan neck flesh experiment. And in 1856, Pasteur discovers the microbiology fermentation while studying the causes of spoilage in beer and wine. He basically is the proponent of the germ theory. But what actually gives the confirmation of the germ theory is Leicester in 1867. At first they were thinking the germ theory is preposterous, like they didn't believe it. But Leicester basically confirmed it. He used alcohol as a disinfectant during surgery and actually protected more children, because with fractures, children were actually dying during surgery after having a fracture. But with alcohol, with chloric acid, he was able to prevent the deaths because of infection during surgery, because he would use it as a disinfectant. And Koch, from 1876 to 1906, Koch actually discovered multiple bacterial agents, such as tuberculosis and anthrax. But we'll mention them a little bit later. But they'll be very interesting. If you wish to join, we will talk about it. What we need to account when treating our patients is their immunitary system. The immune system is very important to understand, because many conditions can actually suppress the immune system, such as HIV or chemotherapy for cancer patients, and hepatitis. Hepatitis actually can decrease the immune system. And also the coronavirus. Gender, male and female. Some conditions are more predominant in men. Some are more predominant in women. Some are actually in both. It can be in both. With race, some conditions and some locations of prevalence are actually based in race. Like, some conditions are more predominant in darker skinned communities than in light skin communities, and vice versa. Some conditions are more predominant in light skin compared to dark skin. The nutrition is very important because it can actually affect your immune system. If you don't eat well, you're actually hurting your body by decreasing the immune system, because actually a good nutrition actually also increases your happiness level, and your happiness level actually can increase your immune system. Being happy increases your level of happiness. With obesity is a form of malnutrition, and it can actually make you more hungry, but actually makes you more unable to, as I was mentioning, the environment can also affect your body in the sense that with cholera, if your environment's polluted, you can actually have bacterium actually become more prevalent, such as with chemicals being in the water can hurt the body, such as with oil plants. And working with oil plants, there's actually a lot of tendency to have infections, respiratory infections. And with age, it can also affect the immune system. And with other conditions, some conditions actually more affect the young compared to the old. But some conditions can affect the old predominantly, such as the coronavirus is more predominant in older people, but can also actually affect the young as well, with no standing conditions, such as one case of a 19-year-old. He had no other conditions, no diabetes, no hypertension, just he got the coronavirus and he's in the hospital with severe condition. The transmission, as I was mentioning, can actually be passed through the air in the form of droplets like the coronavirus, such as influenza does that as well, and droplets in surfaces, such as chlamydia. Chlamydia loves to transfer sexually. Loves it. Malaria gets transferred by vector to terminal from insects, from particular mosquitoes. And hepatitis and syphilis actually go vertically from mom to fetus. And fecal oral is basically you get it from contaminated food predominantly. Or predominantly from contaminated food, and it going into your food, and oops, you can get diuretic conditions. Because the pathogens love to take an easy way to the trip. And it is actually related to a environmental triad of environment, pathogen, and host. Host is you as a human being or your animals. Animals can get infections as well. The environment can be other people. Let's say a person coughed on me. That's from the environment. Or you were petting your dog and actually your dog is sick and you actually got it from your dog or cat. From plants, like you being sensitive to poison ivy. And some plants can actually be poisonous on their own right. And you touched that and it was like, oh my god, you're getting a serious reaction because of the poisons, as well as with animals. Pathogens: bacterial, viral, and fungal. And parasites, as I'm mentioning. And this is very important because this is very important for contact tracing, such as with Donald Trump, he was positive and had symptoms of the coronavirus. And this is actually important because the incubation period, you actually don't have symptoms incubation period, you have no symptoms or signs of being infected, but you actually are infected and you could actually pass it around. And the prodromal is when you have symptoms, when you're starting to have the signs and symptoms of the pathology. And that's why it's very important of contact tracing, because it can save lives, because they could be not infected, they could be affected and they don't even know it, and pass it to their grandmother, pass it to their mom, pass it to their kids. What if their kid is immune compromised? Let's say the kid is on. I actually have a friend who has a son who's actually was having to use immune compromise because he had a organ replacement. So she needed to be very careful when it was the peak of influenza because she could pass it to her son, and badly. The period of illness is when you have the severe signs and symptoms. The period of decline, you do have the symptoms and signs, but you're not as dominant, but you could still pass it around. And you're starting to get over it, but you still are in the protection stage. Like, protect because you could still pass it around even though you're feeling better. And covalesce is the period of like recording, but you're still like with the coronavirus, you could still become positive again. And it is affected by the number of microbials to the time. And the peak of the number of microbials and time is during the period of illness and entering to the period of decline. Thank you. I hope you guys like this video. I want to continue making these, so I hope you guys like it. Thank you. Bye.